All right, so I have recently switched to reading physical books. I'm a huge audiobook guy, huge ebook guy, kind of Kindle books, but I've kind of gone back to my college days and I'm going to physical books now just because there's something about being able to highlight things, write your comments that's just, way better. And if you do library books, which I did for an extended period of time, it's awesome that it's free, but you can't write comments, make your mark. So this is going to be the first in a series of book reviews. And this book is Jim Carrey's Memoirs and Misinformation. Now, like many people, I got this book not realizing that there's another piece of fine print down here, which I don't know if you'll be able to see, but it says a novel. Well, I got pretty far before I realized that this thing was a novel. And that is a huge, huge factor in whether or not you should buy this book. I'm a gigantic fan of comedy. I'm a gigantic fan of all of the movies that Jim Carrey did. Obviously, I grew up with it. He set the standard for people of my generation. So my love of Jim Carrey knows no bounds. It's not rational. It's purely emotional. So I was really looking forward to kind of getting inside his head. He has said it many times in the past, that being a celebrity isn't all that great. I wish that people could be a celebrity for a day. Then they would see how it doesn't solve all of their problems. This was all really good stuff because I think especially now with the TikTok generation, people idolize celebrity and they want to be social media influencers more than ever before. If anything, it's something of a pandemic in our global culture right now, this need to be a celebrity, which affects us all, especially here on Instagram, YouTube, on every platform. So I was hoping that this book would kind of debunk some of the myths about what it means to be a celebrity. And indeed, that's kind of how it starts out. It starts out from a very depressed man. Now, this man is Jim Carrey, but as we learn, it's not the real Jim Carrey. It's a fictional character named Jim Carrey that he created that loosely parallels life and real people and real events in Hollywood. So the beginning, I thought, was pretty interesting. It kind of tells a story of like, hey, you might not have thought of this. You might not have thought of that. These are the problems with being a celebrity or being recognized, or you can't leave your home. And it's just really coming from the mind of a person who is, in my belief, deeply, deeply depressed. So very interesting, very subversive. The book really devolves into just sheer, I don't want to say nonsense, but into total fantasy. I'm not going to give it away if you do want to read this, but it devolves into something vastly different than what it begins as, and its loose grip on reality fades as the book goes on. Is it a page turner? Yes. Can you read the whole thing in a day or two or in a couple days? Absolutely. Will you want to? Yes. Will it affect your brain in possibly a negative way? Yeah, it could. I mean, again, it seems to me like he's coming from a place of deep depression. Now, this book has been written over the course of many years. And as we know, there have been a lot of negative things that have happened with Jim Carrey. He's changed his public persona so much, even on Comedians in Cars with Getting Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld. I think that episode was either pulled from Netflix or never aired. You can watch it online, though. He's been portraying this very different, artsy kind of guy, clearly trying to distance himself from the previous comedian goofball Jim Carrey that we all knew in our childhoods. And this book is further along those lines. One can't help but think that it's the latest in a series of Andy Kaufman-esque gestures, where this book, the joke is kind of on the reader, if that makes sense. And I get why he's doing it, but that doesn't necessarily make it the book that I had kind of hoped that it would be. So my summary here: fascinating look into the inner workings of what I believe is a pretty disturbed, pretty sad mind. You'll definitely feel differently about celebrity, but I can't help but feel that I just wish that this was just a book about his life. I wish instead of misinformation, it just really was his memoirs. I think that would be a far more interesting book to say, hey, this is what actually happened. This is what celebrity culture is like. This is what it's like being friends with other celebrities. This is the culture. This is what relationships are like. Obviously, he didn't really want to tell any real information. And, the lawyer type person inside of me recognizes that because it's a novel, every single thing here is fiction or could be fiction. He can at least hide behind that banner very effectively. Which kind of means that there's little real truth. And as a huge fan of autobiographies and biographies, that's almost exclusive what I read, or nonfiction books, kind of thought that would be more interesting. Because when you start getting into novel territory, if you're going to make a crazy novel, well, then you're going into a whole different category where you've got Hunter Thompson, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, these kind of semi-autobiographical novels. But in that world, you better make a really compelling novel if you're going to make something up. So in this case, I think that the novel falls short of classics like From Hunter Thompson or, the Rum Diaries even. And I think as an autobiography, it's lacking in the sense that you don't get real details about his life. Still, it is a page turner. It's interesting. I'm not going to dismiss it because of who he is and everything that he's done. But this is the latest. I will be doing more book reviews like this. So if you like Jim Carrey, pick up this book. If you want to get a glimpse into the mind of somebody who has really had meteoric rise and then catastrophic falls and then kind of figured out some new path, then this is a good book. But just remember that it is a novel. So there you go. Book review, Jim Carrey, Memoirs and Misinformation.